Welcome to Italics, television for the Italian-American experience. I'm your host, Anthony Tamburri. Our guest this month is Georganne Vartorella, a physician and graduate from Georgetown University. Dr. Vartorella practiced internal medicine for 13 years before founding Patient Advocacy MD, an organization dedicated to developing programs that support caregivers of the elderly and patients with chronic and advanced illnesses. Along with her husband, Dr. Vartorella-Statesir, she is committed to establishing a scholarship and grant program at Georgetown University. The Vartorella-Statesir Scholarship Fund will provide financial assistance to undergraduate students, while the Frank and Emily Vartorella Masters in Italian Studies Fund offers merit scholarships to master students in the Department of Italian Studies. Let's join her in the studio.
Italics said it best, where he said, "You are an American by day and an Italian by night."
Georganne, welcome to Italics.
Thanks for having me.
So you're here because you're a special person, because you have given, given to the humanities for Italian studies, and I think that's very important. There aren't many of you up to date who have done that to the extent that you have, so it's really wonderful. But let's start a little bit with you personally and how you got to where you are today. Your Italian-American background, where did you grow up? Family, who is...
I grew up in Cleveland, and I think my experience as an Italian-American is typical for that time. It was growing up in a house that was fused, I think Vincent Cannato says it, with a pragmatism and a romanticism that's really unique to the Italian-American immigrant. Italics said it best, where he said, "You are an American by day and an Italian by night." You were American, but you never knew if you were accepted as an American by anyone else. And I think that experience indelibly shaped who I was then, who I am now, and really what I was called to be. My mother, my father, my sister, and I, we weren't bilingual, but my father spoke fluent dialect.
Okay.
And my grandfather, who came in 1910 through Ellis Island, he never spoke English.
Mm-hmm. That's not as rare as people think it is.
I know.
Yeah.
Nonno was born in Oriolo, Italy. His mother sent him packing to the U.S. His mother said, "Go fetch your brother, bring him back to Italy." But my grandfather did not fetch his brother. The U.S. fetched my grandfather. Berlin Heights, Ohio, fetched my grandfather.
Yeah.
And he initially worked as a tailor in his brother's shop and then had his own tailor shop in Shaker Heights, Ohio. So there was that pragmatism where you work hard, this is the opportunity, you chase the American dream. But he was always, it was laced with that romanticism. He had a garden. He listened to the Italian opera on the local Italian station, and he taught his parakeet a few
words,
lines from a Puccini or a Rossini or a Verdi. And he also did not naturalize as a U.S. citizen until 1944. And I don't think that was more common than I think people think.
Yeah, which meant that your father would be today de facto, no, he might not be, but in a sense would be de facto an Italian citizen, because there was a strange law where you could reclaim your Italian citizenship.
Well, that's how I qualified.
Through your grandfather,
to get dual citizenship.
Yeah. And I say that's not rare that he didn't learn English, because I had a grandmother, the same thing. She came over here in 1913. She died in 1973, and her English was not even functional.
No, he spoke no English.
Yeah, and so they had a small, and you think about that afterwards, because they had a small group of people with whom they can interact.
Yes. Yes. And I don't know if he naturalized. Americans thought Italians in 1944 and Italian immigrants were the enemy.
Right.
Or if he naturalized because my father was serving in the Army.
Okay.
He was breaking through the Gustav line,
Yeah.
fighting in Monte Cassino, up the Italian boot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the Monte Cassino is where it was a horrible battle there in Monte Cassino.
The worst.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because that area there is where my father's family's from. That whole Frosinone, the Ciociaria,
Yes.
and Cassino, and it's
Yes.
actually the village is 30 minutes from Cassino. So yeah, and so Cassino, Monte Cassino, I've been going.
Do you go back?
Oh yeah, the town is called Sette Frati, and I've been going since 1970. And,
Okay.
And so from the old timers, I heard all the stories about the war and the invasion and the difference between the Germans and Moroccans and the Americans and who treated us better than the others and so on and so forth. Yeah, but they also spoke of the Battle of Monte Cassino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the monastery isn't there. I mean, you've been there. That's,
Yeah.
it was destroyed.
Yeah, yeah. So Cleveland does. I mean, this is also something, that especially those of us in the Northeast corridor, right? Italy, Italian Americans. We're all here in the Northeast. Maybe a little bit in San Francisco, maybe a little bit in Chicago, maybe a little bit in New Orleans, right? But people don't realize Ohio has a large Italian
Yes,
population.
there's a robust Italian American community, and there was at that time. It was the east side of Cleveland, Shaker Heights, and that. But yes,
Yeah. So you leave this little Italian enclave and you go to college, right?
Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
Georgetown University.
Oh, so you did. So it's an undergraduate.
Yes.
Okay. And
I'm a double Hoya. I went to Georgetown undergrad and med school.
And med school. So as an undergrad, did you do pre-med or did you do humanities?
I started out in the School of Languages and Linguistics, studying Italian.
Okay.
And then I graduated from the College of Liberal Arts with a degree in political science.
Okay.
Go figure.
And you were in Washington and instead you went into medicine
Yeah.
instead of poli-sci.
Yep. And I did residency in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then came to practice in Cleveland.
Okay, so you went back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's your field? So our perspective.
I practiced internal medicine,
Okay.
and now I do patient advocacy.
Okay.
So I advocate for patients and families, people with rare diseases or serious advanced illness. And I use my medical knowledge, my medical training, to get insurance to pay for what they often don't cover, and these people need the treatment.
So when you were at Georgetown, so you started studying Italian, and was there a big community? I mean, was there a good program? Good in the sense of large.
Yeah, I would say at the time, the Georgetown had a very robust school of language and linguistics. And I think since that time, it's been absorbed into the Foreign Service School and into the College of Arts and Sciences. And when I was there, students came to study language mostly for government work and also to translate for the UN. That was huge back then. And to translate for government or global organizations. At that time, they needed real people to do the translating.
Right.
There was a love of language that brought us all together. I would say it that way. Yeah.
Well, it remained. Obviously, you were part of those who loved the language because it remained.
Yes.
And so now you actually a series of scholarships, right?
Yes.
So tell us about those, because one I know is dear to my heart because I am by both preparation and professional preparation and by profession, a professor of Italian. I've taught language for many years. I drifted into also Italian American studies. That's why we're here with the Calandra Institute. But it's not easy out there today for Italian studies. We haven't done well in this past decade and a half. But you decided to help that by funding an MA program and then scholarships, correct? Tell us about it.
Yeah, the masters that we funded, the masters in Italian studies, is an iteration of a larger bequest to Georgetown.
Okay.
And the intent there is scholarship to remove the barriers to access and deliver the exceptional education and global perspective you get at Georgetown. It untethers the university so they can recruit the best and the brightest. And it untethers the students who are the best and brightest, but encumbered by an inability to pay.
Yeah.
And the motivation is my background. My father was a falegname.
Okay.
And
We should say a carpenter, we should say for
yes,
our
a
spectators.
carpenter.
Yes. Right.
My father got a GED after the war.
Yeah.
And my parents cashed in soda pop bottles. They took on extra jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It is that Italian family, they sacrificed their own needs and wants to get me to Georgetown. And very specifically, I remember a story. One of my father, he was one of 10 siblings, one of my father's brothers, my uncle, said to my father, "Why are you doing this? She's a girl." And my father said, "Because she will learn to think.
Yeah.
And they will take care of her curiosity, her infinite curiosity." Yeah. And I was motivated by the love and the support and, I think very progressive thinking from my parents at that time.
When did you realize I've got to give back? Not many have given to this extent, I think, to the humanities, right? There are tons of people, tons of Italian Americans who have given to churches, to hospitals, whatever. We're in New York City, NYU Langone Medical Center, right? Or Langone, as we would say. Those of us who study Italian, who speak Italian. But the humanities instead are still waiting, right?
Yes, and I even though I went to med school, liberal arts is
stuck with you.
Yes, but I think, as I said, how far I have come, where I am, where I began. My husband and I really wanted to remove any barriers to get the best where they need to be. Mm-hmm. But it also is recognizing your gratitude. And there is a book, you may be familiar with it, Braiding Seagrass by the environmentalist Robin Wall Kimmerer. Mm-hmm. And she talks about the inherent harmony and gratitude you feel when you realize how connected you are to everyone and everything in the world. And she says, when you respond with gratitude, your second act, you've got to reciprocate. So that's what this is. And a very, very specific moment happened to me. As I said to you before we started, my husband and I have a farm in Montepulciano in Tuscany. We have an olive oil and truffle farm. And it is not far from Georgetown's campus in Fiesole.
Right, exactly.
And so you start seeing this thread. And we were visiting a while back, and I'm standing in the gardens, the Villa Labal's gardens.
That's Georgetown.
Georgetown's.
I know the director.
You do?
Fulvio.
Another conversation. Yes, we can keep this rocking for days, And I'm standing there, and I don't want to sound cliched, but it really, really happened, that recognizing my connectedness. I'm standing up overlooking Firenze. I'm thinking where I am. I'm at Georgetown. And I am thinking about my family, my grandfather, my father, the pride they would have had to see their daughter. And I'm realizing the connectedness between my family, my culture, my roots, and Georgetown. And
Bingo.
the deal was sealed. Yeah. We were done.
Yeah.
We said, okay, we have to do this. You really want to empower these students to be the leaders and stewards of our patrimony.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a precious thing.
And if we don't take possession of it, which is what you're doing in doing the grant, the scholarships that you and your husband have created, if we don't take possession of it in that way, or if we don't take possession of it by writing about it, then we can't complain.
It's going to be gone.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's to really recognize that and thank them, and to thank my grandfather, his pluck, his determination, his coraggio, his courage.
Yeah.
To get on a boat
in 1910
in his 20s
or
with
whenever
nothing.
He came over.
He had nothing.
Right.
And to come to the United States.
Right.
And it is a thanks to Georgetown for giving me critical thinking, the tools to succeed professionally, personally. They sated my curiosity, and it is to say thank you to all of that.
Yeah. So you're the first in your family to go to college.
Yes, I am.
Right?
Yes.
How about cousins? Are you the first among your cousins? I ask only because I'm one of the last of about 30 some odd to 40 first cousins, the whole family. And so I'm like the third youngest of all. I have a cousin who was born in 1924, just to give you an idea, right? I was only the third to go to college.
Yes. Yes.
Of all these cousins.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. As I recall at the time, I was the first. But then I think as younger cousins, or even in and around the same age that I am, I think they started to go as well. And but I was the first. I think it's those two things. If you're bright and you can go, and you can't go to a place like Georgetown because you can't afford it, you got to get rid of that barrier.
Right.
And you look, it's a gift of gratitude.
It's no longer the days of, at least when I was in college, there were, if you couldn't afford it, there was the National Defense Education Act grants and loans. There was the Educational Opportunity Act grants and loans, and then you worked off those loans. You literally taught them off, right?
Yes.
And they would give you like depending on where you taught, 10 to 15% a year, and you could actually teach the loan up because you were in a public school system. And
really? That I did not know.
Yeah.
So see how we all got there.
Yeah, we all got there different ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it doesn't exist today for students who have financial need. You know, those programs are no longer around. And then you hear about the insurance rates, you know, that students pay on these loans, and they're just exorbitant. And students come out of college with a humanities degree with $150,000, $180,000 loan.
And med school is
med school is
unspeakable.
Yeah. So you mentioned two, and I'm curious now from this point of view, what you read. You mentioned two authors, Gay Talese, which I would expect that an informed Italian American would read, but you mentioned Vince Canado.
Yes.
And so you've read his stuff too on Ellis Island. And
yes.
Yeah. So
but I think he nails it.
He does, yes.
In that you go,
yep.
That was my experience, or our experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what other Italians have you read, Italian Americans have you read?
Italo Calvino.
Okay.
Umberto Eco.
Umberto Eco, of course, everyone. Yeah, Umberto Eco was at the supermarket cash register in 1980, no? I remember when The Name of the Rose came out, I remember it was in the supermarket, and there at the cash register, along with all the tabloids, was The Name of the Rose. I just thought, oh my God.
Yeah, you know. And you know Superman is originally from Cleveland.
Yes,
so.
Yes.
There's that connection,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I think we need to read more, you know, and I don't think as a community, and I don't know if we do. I wonder, you know, we have some wonderful people out there in the community. We have some other people who sort of try to nudge to the front of the line. And I think if they read more, they wouldn't have to nudge to the front of the line.
Are you saying you think it's peculiar to Italian Americans or just the sign
No,
of the times?
No, I think those who want to be in the positions of impact have to do more reading than they've done. This is something I've been wrestling with as far as how to talk about it. It's not easy to talk about.
Yeah, that also is another topic.
Yeah.
Because I could talk about that for hours, days.
Our local and regional
Yes.
leaders,
Yes.
sometimes self-appointed.
And reading.
Yeah.
And, you know, I
Being
love to
informed.
read.
Being
I love to write.
Yeah.
I'm of that mind, yeah.
Yeah, being informed, I think is the, you know, and when you mentioned, you know, both Talese and Cannato, it's clear that you wanted to be informed. We've lost about 40,000 college students in Italian, from about 80 to about 43,000 in about a 12-year period, 13-year period.
And
So all the
why do
more
you think
important-
that is?
I think part of it is administration. I think it's a combination of two things. One, administration coming in and saying, small program,
Yep.
we have to cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody retires, they don't get replaced. And then I think the other is there are two things we don't learn in graduate school, especially at the doctoral level. We don't learn about university politics, and we don't learn about fundraising. And
That's huge.
and I learned doing it, having to do it, right?
I can say, I know that, but I didn't see it
Yeah.
until you said it.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
well said. And again, that is another conversation
Yeah.
I'd love to have.
But it makes but because of that need and because of that threat, we can call it a threat, let's say.
Well,
an
it is.
administrative threat. Your MA scholarships, whatever other scholarships you guys are giving, is more important than usual, because not only does it get the person who can't afford to go, but it keeps that program open. It helps keep that program open, helps keep it
Yeah.
populated with students.
And student interest, tell me about that. How are students, you know, are there phases where, you know, everybody's going to be an engineer, or everybody's
Yeah.
going to be a physician, or now everybody's going to have an AI startup?
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
How
My
is
experience. So you
that?
mentioned Italo Calvino. So my experience is, one of my previous colleges, I taught at Middlebury College for
Oh, okay.
way
Yeah.
back in the 80s, and I taught freshman writing, but I was free to choose the material. So I chose 5 or 6 books in English. Calvino, Luigi Barzini, a couple of other, Christ Opted Eboli, a couple of other, you know, that would give them a little bit of a insight into Italian culture, Italian history, etc. And I remember they jumped on the bandwagon. They just thought it was great. So we can get the students, you know, interested in this stuff. Sometimes we have to do it through English, and then we bring them back into Italian. Yeah, yeah.
And how do you think you can start the fire and keep it burning to bring young people in to?
Well, I think that some of our Italian programs need to think in terms of Italian diaspora studies and see, so let's, you know, so we're in the United States, so we're studying Italian literature and culture. Well, let's talk about Italian history in the United States.
Yes.
Let's talk about immigration. Let's tell our students that the first 20 to 25 years of Italian American literature is in Italian predominantly. And
Sure.
people don't know that. You know,
Yeah.
we just don't know it. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do here at Queens College. We're at the Calander Institute, and we're associated with Queens College. So
And that's really timely. I mean, when you
Yeah.
think of early 20th century Italians, and I never knew until later on, the Italians in New Orleans.
Right.
And what they went through,
Right.
and the murders and the lynching, and the, I never knew that until
Or the late 1800s. There would be there's a sign I show in a PowerPoint when I do a talk on Italian immigration, Italian diaspora studies. It says it's for minors wanted. No coloreds or Italians need apply. You go, what? Like they really, you know, and then you read these other things and you see other ads and so on and so forth. And even our own paesani, a lot of them don't know about this. You know?
No, and in Italy, they don't know. I mean, and even Italians in the South at that time, I guess that's how they got to New Orleans. They worked side by side.
Right.
With African Americans.
They came because it was mostly from Sicily, because it was a fishing, right? The fishing industry, et cetera. But then a lot of them also went and worked the cotton fields. And after the
and there are old...
After the Great Migration North of the African Americans, the Italians came in and did that job. Yeah, those are...
And that history needs to be told.
Yeah, and you can get that history also going back to Italian history by reading some of the late 19th century and early 20th century writers. They write about Edmondo de Amicis, Cuore, for example, is about that. Oceano, another novel of his, is about that stuff. It's about emigration. And there was a writer that was recently, the last 20, 25 years, rediscovered, a woman writer named Maria Messina. And she wrote some short stories in like 1911, 1913, 2 different short stories with the title L'America, and it was about immigration. So you know, that's another way to try to get students, I think, involved. Especially not now. We shouldn't go after only Italian Americans.
No,
by any means. No.
I agree.
Right. But if we're talking about Italian Americans, especially, that could get them interested more, because then they've had maybe a grandparent talk about their parents or grandparents or so on and so forth. Yeah.
So we got to start the fire and just keep it.
We shall. This is the beginning, okay?
This is the beginning.
Sounds good. Well, listen, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
it very much, because you made a special trip.
Yes.
We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
I hope so.
By all means.
Great chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Italics. I'm Anthony Tamburri. Arrivederci alla prossima puntata.